set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sound of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 50 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated in a tie.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another live stream here on the Country Roads webcast channel, March 8th edition, and we'll be talking both football and basketball throughout. We got a big recruiting update to lead things off with as West Virginia scores their first commit of the 2027 class, picking up a highly touted running back, one of the nation's top prospects for that class, and West Virginia able to get in on him early and get an early commitment. Super excited about the addition of Armand Hill, and we'll talk about that momentarily. That's what we'll lead things off with before we switch gears, and as I told you guys in the previous stream, would come at you guys early so we get a preview of the basketball game in before senior day today for the WVU men's team, and talk a little bit about the WVU women's team as well, as they're on a great run right now in the Big 12 semifinals today. They're both in action, so it's going to be a busy day for Mountaineer sports fans, both men and women playing, and then, of course, a busy day for us here at the CRW. Got this stream here on the main channel, and then we're going to have our Almost Heaven members hang out later tonight. Hopefully you guys are joined up as channel members, and you can participate in that. And if you're there at the Wild and Wonderful level, we'd love for you to upgrade so you can be a part of the monthly hangouts there at the Almost Heaven level as well. But appreciate you guys tuning in any way you choose to do so. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. If you're on the Facebook or Twitch side, got to encourage you to come over here to the YouTube channel where you can subscribe, get these videos directly into your feed. You won't only have access to these live streams, but then you'll have access to the podcast episodes, the pre-recorded videos as well. And if you're on the YouTube side, just do us a quick favor, hit that thumbs up button, helps a ton with the algorithm. And if you're a WVU football fan that hasn't yet, be sure to subscribe here to the channel. We'll keep you up to date on everything happening throughout the Mountaineer football program, and I always like to chat WVU sports with you guys here. See several people in here already. Chris, James, Trey, what's going on? Hope everybody is having a great Saturday, and hopefully it continues to be a great one. We'd love to see multiple wins from the Mountaineer men's team and Mountaineer women's team today, and we'll talk about those in the back half of the show. And of course, I'll answer any of your all's questions and comments, try to get to some of those as well. But with no further ado, let's talk recruiting first. And it's interesting because West Virginia, you know, we're working on the 2026 class, which here's a look at what we have thus far with that. I expect this to change in the very near future. Probably start to see more of these 2026 commitments roll in. We have tight end Sam Hamilton and wide receiver Jafar Jean Noel, the speedster out of Florida. But I was surprised yesterday, kind of caught me off guard, that West Virginia already getting a jump start on the 2027 class as a commitment came in from running back Armand Hill. So let's talk a little bit about Armand now, because this is a big-time pickup for West Virginia. You'll see it in his offer list. You'll see it in some of his stats and his highlights. We'll take a look at some of those as well here momentarily. So Armand Hill, let's take a look at him here on 247. They list him 5'8", 170. I think that Rivals lists him at 5'10", right around 180. So on our commitment tracker, I kind of split the difference, listed him at like 5'9", 175. But, he's right in there. He's going to have, room to grow. He's only a sophomore in high school, so who knows what his size will be by the time he gets to WVU here in a couple of years. But super impressive already, guys, because you got to know, in high school, it's hard enough to even get onto the field and play varsity football as a freshman, right? And not only does Armand Hill play varsity football as a freshman, but he excels and stands out even as a freshman. Now he's in his sophomore season, just wrapped that up. He'll be going into his junior season once the fall comes around. But, I mean, in the first 2 years, as a freshman and sophomore in high school, he's ran for over 3,000 yards. He's racked up a ton of touchdowns. And one game in his freshman season, which we'll take a look at that game, look at some highlights from it momentarily, he ran for 495 yards as a freshman in high school in a game. So, definitely impressed by Armand Hill. Out of the Pennsylvania area, West Mifflin, they're, like I said, 2027 class, not yet rated on 247 Sports. That's going to change, but when we pull up the Rivals profile momentarily, you'll see how highly regarded he is already on Rivals, and you can expect similar ratings on 247. And one way you can tell that is look at the offer list. Michigan, Penn State, Pitt, all wanted in on this guy. And we're talking about a guy that's just finished up a sophomore year in high school and already has multiple Power 4 offers, multiple Division I offers, and already, blown away by West Virginia, recruited by Blaine Stewart. And, we knew running backs would be wanting to come play at West Virginia in the Rich Rod offense. And, of course, after how we talked about Larry Porter on the last stream, I think that's going to add to that as well. He was a National Recruiter of the Year in the past. He's really been good at developing running backs, and already running backs wanting to come play at WVU here with Rich Rod and company back in the helm now. So let's pull him up on Rivals so you guys can see how kind of highly regarded he is on there. Already, one of the Rivals' top 250 players in the entire country. He's actually on the higher end of that, in the top near 130, rated 134th nationally. They have him as a top 10 running back in the class. So we have one of the top 10 running backs in the 2027 class committed, and the top 4 players in the entire state of Pennsylvania as well. Rivals has him as a 4-star. Borderline 5-star, and this could be someone that could earn that 5th star by the time it rolls around. Remember, he's only going to be going into his junior year, so super excited. West Virginia picks up the verbal commitment, and a little bit more info here from Rivals. Keenan Cummings does a good job with these commitment 101s. We've shared him talking about transfers in the past, but now talking about a high school recruit that's very impressive in Armand Hill. Like we said, ran for 495 yards in a game as a freshman once. So there's one thing to know, but here's plenty more about him. Keenan Cummings sharing some of this, and we'll kind of read through this briefly. Announced his choice on social media, picking the Mountaineers over a long list of offers, including Michigan, Penn State, Pitt, Maryland, Syracuse, and more. West Virginia had been heavily involved with Hill for quite some time, first extending a scholarship offer in January 2024. Blaine Stewart serving as the lead recruiter there. Dynamic athlete, has the ability to play either side of the ball, but obviously recruited as a running back with how highly regarded he is at that position. And you'll see some of that for yourself when we show some of these highlights from his huddle momentarily. First commitment for West Virginia in the 2027 cycle, and gives the Mountaineers a major jump in the class, as he's rated the number 134 best player in the entire country and was named first team all-conference last season. Then we go here to look at a little bit of his skill set. Hill has the type of speed and vision you want out of a running back in this West Virginia offensive scheme. He has excellent vision and his ability to find the hole and then use his speed to get downfield. At his size, Hill possesses plus contact balance and routinely sheds arm tackles. And one of the most exciting parts is right there, a home run threat. Like I said, you'll see some of that momentarily. Hill is able to get into the open field and then pull away from defenders for big chunks of yards with plus speed. Good fit for what West Virginia wants to do, little waste of movement, and he's able to get vertical quickly and create big plays. Still has 2 years left of high school to improve, and it's obvious that it's a major addition all around for West Virginia at a critical position in the scheme. So there's a little bit more on Armand Hill, who we can say highly, highly regarded in this 2027 class, which he is indeed the first commitment for West Virginia in that 2027 class, which allows me to start a commitment tracker for the 2027 class now. Showed you the one we have going for 2026 to open this up here with this recruiting talk, but now we have our first addition here to the 2027 verbal commitment list, and it's a big one. Running back Armand Hill out of Pennsylvania. Should probably list his position here. Looks like I forgot to do that, but Running back Armand Hill, 5'9", 175, currently somewhere around that range. Got a little bit of discrepancy between 247 and rivals on his size, but of course we'll get that narrowed down by the time he gets here. But West Virginia's first commit in 2027 out of Pennsylvania, and it is a big one. But don't take my word for it. Don't take the numbers' word for it. Let's look at some plays so you can see it for yourself here. And like I said, this is from his 495-yard rushing game that he had against Hopewell High School as a freshman. So we're talking, what is he, 14, 15 years old here when he's doing this, 495 yards rushing in one game. That's right. But here are some highlights from it. See him there in the backfield, and right away on this first play, you can see that speed, that extra gear. Because, a lot of these guys he's facing 3-4 years older than him and already has that type of breakaway speed that he's probably only going to improve on as he gets bigger and stronger throughout his high school career. And then, of course, once he gets here and goes through his tour of duty at WVU eventually. But, this was a game where he just absolutely, they kept feeding the ball, and the other opposing team couldn't stop him. And it was just big chunk plays almost every time he touched it, as you'll see here in the few that we're going to take a look at. You see their great vision as well, really press the hole, follow that blocker, and get every little bit he can out of that play. So not only is it the great speed, great footwork, but appears to kind of just have that natural instinct for, one, making guys miss, which you saw several times right there on that play, but also the ability to just find the right lane, run behind your blockers, and get every yard that you can out of a play. Another great run there from Armand Hill. Like we said, this is all from one game, guys. 495 yards rushing he had in this game. We won't take a look at this entire tape, but I do encourage you, go watch this game. This is against Hopewell High School. Absolutely incredible game that he had in that one. But then if you go look at his entire, freshman season highlights, and then, of course, his sophomore season, which he just wrapped up as well, probably even more impressive. This was when he was a freshman, but I just had to show highlights of this because I've never known a freshman to run for nearly 500 yards in one game. And, in his 2 years playing high school football, he's ran for over 3,000 yards already. And he still has 2 more seasons of high school football left before he comes to the Mountaineers. So, like we said, highly regarded, one of the top players in the class for the running back position, and I think that his rating will probably only improve. Obviously, when you get someone this early in the cycle, the main thing that you worry about now is, not flipping, having someone flip them, and West Virginia is going to have to fight off plenty of suitors, as this guy, I think, could end up as a 5-star recruit. I truly believe that he really very much could, especially doing this stuff, as young as he is. So there's some highlights of Armand Hill's game. Like I said, I encourage you guys, check it all out, but wanted to give you guys a brief taste there of the latest edition and the only current addition to the 2027 WVU football recruiting class. And that's pretty much all that I had as far as the football news was concerned, I think, except for I wanted to talk some scheduling, and then I've got a couple other little tidbits, and then we'll switch gears, talk basketball. But now that we've done that recruiting update, let me catch up on some of your all's comments here in the chat as well. Channel member Trey Edwards makes a great point as well. Baseball now 13-0. I saw they dominated Kennesaw State. I think I saw them play 16-2. Was that yesterday, I believe, to go to 13-0. I think they're one of, 4 or 5 undefeated teams remaining in college baseball. So you can't say enough. Talk about a heck of a start for a first-year coach there in Steve Sabins taking over for Randy Mazey. They look, really good. Shout out to the WVU baseball team as well. They definitely deserve that. Ernie B says, I don't want to rush the spring and summer away, but can't wait till our roster is set in August for this season. We have to start strong and keep the momentum and excitement going. Let's go. I know, Ernie, that's something else that I'm excited about as well, because kind of right now, it's kind of the quiet period. There's no roster movement. You're just trying to, learn as much about what's going on in spring ball as you can, which, Rich Rod and the staff's not giving us much, so you kind of just got to dive into the press conferences right now until we get to that spring showcase on April 5th. But really following spring football, it's going to, I think, be kind of constant news cycle where we can keep you guys up to date on the formation of that roster and how it's shaping out, because we're going to get that 105-player roster limit. West Virginia is going to have to make some adjustments. They're already over the limit. They want more players to go get more players in the portal. We've heard Rich Rod mention several positions they want to target. So it's going to be interesting to see, and we'll be reporting on who's leaving, who's going, and doing all kinds of transfer portal updates once spring ball is over for sure, Ernie. I'm excited to see how that roster shakes out as well. Trey Edwards says we could get our first 5-star commitment since Noel Devine. It's looking that way. I mean, it's trending that direction. If he's already, a top 10 player at his position and just now being rated by rivals, not even being rated yet by 247, it very well could end up being the case there. But that's also something that, worries me, because it seems like every time we get a guy early in a recruiting cycle and then he ends up, getting another star later in the process or something like that, then that's when those other schools come in and try and sweep him away from us, pull the rug out from under us, so to speak. So just fingers crossed he really is, 100%, 1,000% committed, as the players always put in their commitment graphics and such. But the fact that he's committing so early, and maybe that is a good sign for us of how much he really likes WVU. And I think that these running backs are going to want to play here, especially, the more that they see this offense, because he's going to get to watch Rich Rod's offense for, 2 consecutive seasons. And so I think he'll get to see, hopefully Jaheim White put up some really impressive numbers in both of those seasons. And that will not, do anything but make him want to come here even more than he already does, instead of being swept away by someone else. But he very well could be, Trey. I could see it happen. And that's one of the best parts about it, as Trey says, stole him from Pitt's backyard. That's right, got him right under Pitt and Penn State's noses. Yeah, Silas, I know, man. Silas says he hates to get too excited over a commit that has 2 years to change his mind. I know, that's why I'm trying not to, but just, seeing the stats, seeing the film, man, he's really impressive. And it's one that we're salivating over to try and hopefully get to see in Rich Rod's offense eventually, but at the same time, trying not to get the hopes up too much so that you don't get your heart ripped out if he does end up flipping. But hopefully he stays true and stays a Mountaineer for sure. Exactly, and Trey with another great point in regards to that. The hype's working. If we start winning, he probably will stay because Coach could put him in the NFL. Very true, especially, with what we talked about with Larry Porter in the last stream. He puts up, a ton of guys into the NFL, and most of his running backs have well over 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdown numbers as well. Hey, what's going on, channel member Nathan Scott? See you in here. Hey, let's go. Hashtag ESP. I like that. I like that as always. Trey says, get him to about 200, 210 pounds. He won't be brought down his senior year. Yeah, that would be impressive if you could get him to add that type of size and still keep the speed and explosiveness. Then you'd really be cooking with gas. James Lucas says he's 5-star by college. I could see it happening for sure. I don't know the exact number, Trey, including, what I used to call walk-ons, which I guess they're not technically called walk-ons anymore. I don't know how they're going to classify that. Once the revenue sharing starts, I guess everyone's kind of technically a scholarship player. It's going to make it the roster updates a little bit more lengthy in the future, maybe. But for now, I know that we're over the technically over the limit. I don't know how far over we would be, but I know that we probably in the past have kept 120 some players on the roster, so we may be well over it. I know we're going to have plenty of people that we're going to ask to go elsewhere, and a lot of those guys will be the, guys that were quote-unquote walk-ons in the past. Unfortunately, they're just kind of going to be odd man out now, which that's the shitty thing about this 105, player roster limit that Rich Rod's lamented a lot, and I understand because, that's been a path in the past, including, one that he took himself, starting as a walk-on and then earning a scholarship, and we have guys on the roster that have done that. Caden Beiser is going to be a senior this year, started as a walk-on, earned a scholarship, receivers in the past, and now some of those guys, aren't going to get that initial opportunity here, which sucks. But also, I guess it means more competition. Everyone's going to be fighting for those 105 spots. So I don't know, there's pluses and minuses, but I do think that we'll have to make some adjustments, in that roster limit, how they go about it, if you're able to backfill, if redshirted players count against it. All of those things I think that's stuff that's going to have to be taken into consideration in the future. If they don't just outright make the number a little bit higher, we'll see what happens for sure. All right, so appreciate you guys. Want to catch up on your all's comments. The other thing that I had on the football side here was a little bit about the scheduling, which we kind of knew about this in our case with our game against BYU, but seems like Big 12 trying to take advantage of some of these weekday games, which, being such a fan of West Virginia when they were in the Big East and how we dominated the Thursday and Friday night time slots, I like the Big 12 trying to do that again and bring that back here with the Friday games, playing several. I think there's going to be 10. ESPN and Fox have announced that 10 football games will be played on Fridays through the 2025 season. So it is indeed 10, and here are the 10, with one of them being, of course, featuring our Mountaineers. That's the reason why I wanted to highlight it here again. But Georgia Tech and Colorado, Auburn and Baylor, both on Friday, August 29th. So that'll kind of open the season there. I guess that'll be, after week 0, that'll still be kind of week 1, I guess. But nonetheless, get to see those on Friday. So get some action on Friday and Saturday to open the season. And then a couple in the next week or so there in September 12th. You get Colorado at Houston, Kansas State at Arizona. The next week, you're going to get Tulsa at Oklahoma State on a Friday night. The next week, it'll be TCU at Arizona State as a Friday night contest. And then West Virginia at BYU on October 3rd is going to be a Friday night contest. Which the downside of this is you're probably looking at one of those late kicks, I'd say, with it being a weekday. You're probably going to be, 9, 10, 10:30 kickoff. So, after you come home from work on the Friday, October 3rd, be sure to get you a nap in because you're going to be up late as West Virginia heads to Provo on a Friday versus playing on a Saturday. And then the other 3 games are November 7th, Houston at UCF, November 28th, Arizona at Arizona State, and November 28th, Utah at Kansas as well. So those are the Friday games the Big 12 has announced will be played in 2025. Wanted to talk about that a little bit. And then just a couple odds and ends here from the WVU football team or football adjacent. The one that's more football adjacent here is a past coach of ours, the guy that finished as defensive coordinator last season. Jeff Kuntz found a new gig. The Green Bay Packers are hiring him as a member of their defensive staff. Of course, been at WVU the past 6 years, interim DC last season. Also coached linebackers at WVU and Ole Miss and had hands in special teams. So at least good to see him land on his feet going to the pros there. Will work with the Green Bay Packers. So wanted to report on that. Shout out to Jeff Kuntz getting a new job as we see at least some of the former staff members from the Neil Brown regime landing on their feet, including Neil Brown and Chad Scott, both at Texas now, it looks like, for the upcoming season. And then the last thing, I just wanted to share this video of Nico Marchiol following West Virginia's last spring practice. I didn't get a chance to talk about it in my last stream, day before yesterday. Of course, the video came out right after my stream, but been trying to share these kind of little player interviews that they've had post spring practice. So here's one for Nico.
Spring ball's been awesome. It's been a change of tempo a little bit, but everyone's getting on the same page and working out all the kinks right now, and it's just a blast to be out here with the boys again.
So the only problem that I've had with sharing those is for some reason in those versus all the other content that they usually put out, the audio is a little bit low. But if you couldn't hear it, pretty much said he's just excited to be back out there working with his boys again, back out on the field for the spring, sharing similar sentiments that some of the other players have shared. And I've really liked a lot of the content that's been coming out from the media team from spring practice. A lot of good stuff there. And one of those is the Sights and Sounds video we shared on our last stream. And, of course, Gabe Franklin put out a really nice tweet when he quoted and shared the sounds of spring, which one of my favorite things from that was them ending their huddles with the hard edge call out. But I thought this was just really good right here from Gabe Franklin, the new safeties coach. At WVU, our spring ball is where the hashtag hard edge mentality thrives. It's about relentless work ethic where iron sharpens iron and a brotherhood that pushes each other to greatness. If you're ready to embrace this culture and earn your success, Morgantown is calling. Couldn't have said it better myself. Hard edge, earned success, all of that good stuff, and great words from Gabe Franklin, who I'm sure we'll be hearing from in the near future, as we've heard from other West Virginia assistant coaches throughout the spring. And whenever we hear from Gabe, we'll be back to talk about that on a future live stream as we continue to cover those press conferences and keep you guys up to date with Mountaineer football news throughout the spring. But having said that, let's switch gears. Let's talk some basketball, guys. It's senior day for the WVU men's team. The WVU women are in the semifinals of the Big 12 tournament. So a lot of basketball action to cover today. And let's talk a little bit about it. Let's start off here with highlighting the women who have done a great job by taking a look at their recap video from the WVU media team following their awesome win against Kansas State in their most recent game there in the Big 12 tournament that puts them in the semifinals.
Live from Kansas City, it's the Big 12 women's basketball.
Harrison, not afraid to take it to the basket, though, and she's on the board.
Almost ripped away from her. She goes up and scores and is fouled.
Knocked away by Harrison.
Gives it on, far corner. Shaw, three, good. We're tied at 16.
Teams continue to shoot great. Quinterly with the travel, and Walker showing West Virginia that she can play a little defense, and her bench is cock fired up.
Laxton, open three on the way. Good.
Open three. Walker buries it.
AJ accelerates, gets Walker to the basket. Whistle, foul. Count the bucket.
Sides his rhythm for three.
Quinterly now steps into a three. That's on the way and good.
Needed it. Quinterly to the basket.
And it's stolen by Sydney Shaw. Jordan Harrison makes it a 5-point game. It's up and banged in by Jordan Harrison. Baseline drive. Harrison goes up, banked it in. West Virginia's got the lead on the layup from Jordan Harrison. Harrison will take it right to the basket. Fakes on Taylor, goes up and scores, and the foul.
Poindexter for three. And it's a 1-point game.
Poindexter gets those feet set and knocks down the huge three.
Offensive rebound, Thomas, put back, good and one! Jordan Thomas answers back.
The pass to Taylor.
Quinterly pushes off the sides, running floater up and in for J.J. Quinterly. Buzzer sounds, and the Mountaineers are moving on to the semifinal of the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City.
Great stuff there from the WVU women, who, like we said, now move on to the Big 12 semis, where they'll take on top seed TCU today. But great game all around there from the WVU women to withstand a hot start from K-State and then really take control there in the third and fourth quarters, leading to the win. Great games from Jordan Harrison. Great game, as always, from J.J. Quinterly. And the women are on a roll right now. Let's pull up the Big 12 Conference Tournament for the women. If you guys want to check them out, they play at 4 today on ESPN+, so they'll start an hour before the men's start. But let's see here. Pull this up. This is of course, women's Big 12 tournament bracket, and you see the Mountaineers. This is Central Time. It is 4 o'clock Eastern today that they'll play on ESPN+ against number 1 seed TCU. And, man, I would love to see West Virginia win this game, obviously, to go play in the Big 12 championship for one, but also because I thought J.J. Quinterly was deserving of Big 12 Player of the Year, and they gave it to the young woman there from TCU. So, hey, get a little bit of revenge here in the Big 12 tournament. That'd be nice. And they'll either play Baylor or Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship if they're able to pull off the win today. So, shout out to them. Hopefully, they're able to do that. And they continue to improve their seeding as well. Currently, they are, I think, a 6th seed in the women's bracketology, if I'm not mistaken here, courtesy of ESPN. They currently have them playing in Lexington. They play in, of course, on Kentucky's court there as they kind of do the women's tournament that way, which you'd love to see West Virginia be able to host one of those in Morgantown. They'd have to get up to, I think, at least a 4 seed to be able to do that. So, win the Big 12 would go a long way if you want to try and get on that, but it'd be tough to get one of those top 16 seeds. But nonetheless, a really good seed at 6 for the West Virginia women, and don't sleep on them. They're a team that I think could really make a run in the women's tournament, so I'll be keeping a close eye on them, and they're doing a great job and deserve their flowers just like the men do. So let's talk about the West Virginia men, though, as they have really, had an impressive season under Coach Darren DeVries in his first year, especially dealing with the injuries they've had to deal with, overcoming the adversity they've had to overcome, and now pretty much considered a lock in the NCAA tournament. Most bracketologists have them in. Joe Lunardi even has them as a lock prior to today's game. This just came out a little bit before the stream earlier today. His Big 12, as you see here, 7 locks, 1 likely. So these are all the locks, and West Virginia now listed as a lock, according to Joe Lunardi. Has us as a 9 seed. I think most other bracketology still have us as a 10 seed. We'll see which one West Virginia ends up in. But Joe Lunardi has us as a lock, which is nice to see there as far as his latest that he put out today. So, a win today, maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't, but it could improve seeding. And, if you want to 100% be a lock, go ahead and get a win today on senior day. And I think West Virginia has the ability to do that, and I hope that they do, as we need to honor some of these seniors that came here. Multiple of them never played in the NCAA tournament before. I know Ed Andre had said that was one of his main goals this year, was to finally play in the NCAA tournament. And, of course, Javon Small, one of his main goals as well, hoping that he doesn't get robbed of the Big 12 Player of the Year in the same way that J.J. Quinterly did on the women's side. But the WVU men's basketball team put out some of his accolades, that he's earned this season. Mid-season watch list for multiple awards there: Naismith, Oscar Robertson, Bob Cousy, and the Wooden Award. He was a mid-season All-American, 3-time Big 12 Player of the Week, 2-time National Player of the Week, March Madness Player of the Week once, Naismith National Player of the Week once. So, they're definitely pushing for it. They're hoping he gets this Big 12 Player of the Year award, and I think he's more deserving than anyone else. We'll just see what happens, though, because I think we all know West Virginia doesn't have the greatest history when it comes to postseason awards. We've been robbed more often than not. I'm looking at Jay Crowder over Kevin Jones on the basketball side, and Stedman Bailey getting robbed of the Blitnikoff on the football side, so we'll see what happens. But we do know that it's senior day for the Mountaineers, the first senior day under Darren DeVries, and it's going to be a sold-out home crowd. They're supporting the Mountaineers in the Coliseum, and we need to honor those seniors, those being Javon Small, Toby Oconee, Eric Andre, Joe Yesufu, Jake Auer, and, of course, Javon Small, if I didn't already mention him. But, hey, it deserves mention twice because he's had such a good year if I did. But I thought that they put out a good video honoring those guys. So shout out to the WVU Media team as always. And here's a nice video honoring those seniors. Then we'll take a look at the matchup with UCF, do a little preview. I'll throw you guys my prediction and catch up in the comments before we wrap this one up.
Javon Small, slam dunk. Screen alley-oop lob, Oconee with a slam dunk. Layup shot rejected by Andre in front of the rim. Yesufu attacks the rim, layup shot, up good, and a foul! Here's Auer, stopping, NBA plus 3, good!
All right, so good stuff there. Shout out to the seniors. Appreciative of them, not only, as I mentioned, Javon Small and Ed Andre wanting to get to the tournament for the first time, but we wanted to watch the Mountaineers play in the tournament for the first time in, 3 years now? I think, something like that, close to it. So excited to see that happen. Looks like they'll be back dancing. Definitely would solidify at 100%, I think. Today, you're probably, 90% solidified already, but go get this win on senior day and make it a no-doubter. That's what we're hoping to see. So let's pull it up, talk a little bit about that matchup really quickly, and then I'll throw you guys my prediction. Hey, you guys got any predictions for today? Throw them in the chat there. I'll highlight some of those on screen after I get done with mine and try and answer any questions you got as well. If you want to throw them in there one more time, appreciate you guys tuning in on any platform here live, whether you're watching live or on a playback on the YouTube. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button before you head out. That helps a ton with the algorithm. And subscribe here for all your Mountaineer sports coverage. If you didn't get a chance to chat live, throw your thoughts in the comments. Always appreciate those interactions. And I want to remind you guys that are channel members, if you would, tonight at 8, come hang out with us. If you're a member at that Almost Heaven level, if you're at that Wild and Wonderful level, consider the upgrade. Once a month, we do these monthly hangout streams where we just kind of hang out, no real dedicated topics. We'll play funny videos. We'll play WVU highlight videos, all kinds of different stuff that we really can't do on the main channel because those aren't monetized and or anything on there for channel members. So they're always a lot of fun, but I will drop a link in there in case any of you guys would like to become channel members here in the live chat and have access to the members only hangout tonight for the Almost Heaven members. Let me go ahead and do that really quickly, but appreciate you guys as always. You guys help keep this mic recording and that camera rolling, and of course get all kinds of bonus content coming your way for supporting us in that fashion. But if you can't support us that way, like I said, fast, easy, and free way, hit the thumbs up button and be sure to subscribe. But having said that, let's talk a little bit about the Mountaineers and the UCF Knights, which will be squaring off today in Morgantown for senior day there for WVU. UCF coming in 16-14. And 7-12 in the conference. The Mountaineers 18-12 overall, 9-10 in the conference. Tipping off at 5 on ESPN Plus. West Virginia currently favored by 7.5. Looking at the game cast here, ESPN gives West Virginia a 76% chance to win, 24% chance for UCF. Most recently here for both of these teams, West Virginia in their last fives won 3 out of their last 5. And then same goes for UCF, who won 3 out of their last 5. Both teams coming off wins. UCF handling Oklahoma State. West Virginia, as we know, beating Utah, which we talked a little bit on the last stream. Difference in styles, which that's kind of been the case for West Virginia most of the season, as they're more of a defensive team. A lot of these other teams like to get out, try and score a lot of points. That's been the case for UCF, and that's been their kind of modus operandi throughout the season. 79 points per game compared to 68 for the Mountaineers, but they are giving up 80 points per game. West Virginia only giving up 65, so maybe a good chance for West Virginia to get some of their scorers rolling on offense. We'd love to see a great offensive performance to end the season at the Coliseum, get you a 10th win there in the conference, finish 10-10 in conference would not be bad at all, especially with being shorthanded a little bit throughout this season. Rebounds 37 per game for UCF, 33 for the Mountaineers. Assists nearly dead even at 14 per game. Both teams average around 4 blocks per game. Both teams average identical steal numbers at close to 8 per game. So interesting matchup there as far as those stats are concerned. Individual leaders for both teams. Let's check out UCF first here. They do have a couple of players that can really score it, including one that had a great game against the Mountaineers the last time that we played the Knights. I think his name was, Johnson, I believe. He dropped 29 on us last year. I remember that. Let's see, Johnson here dropped 29 on us last year, and yet again having a good year scoring the ball. He's averaging over 16 points per game. Hall's averaging nearly 19 points per game. So there's a couple of guards that can really score it for UCF. West Virginia's going to have to do a good job handling both of those. They also have a big man that has nearly 3 blocks per game. Hall can really rebound it as a guard, leads them in rebounds. Johnson leads them in assists and steals as well. So definitely, 3 guys I'm keeping an eye on there: Johnson, Hall, and Thiam there, the big man. Also Ivy Curry, a double-digit scorer as well. So you get 4 guys averaging double digits. So despite UCF not having the best record, they do have guys that can really score the basketball. Look here, 41% from the three-point line is Johnson. Hall's over 35%. So West Virginia's going to have to continue, what they've done throughout most this season, doing a good job closing out on opposing shooters. They have really good three-point defense, going to need that to continue to be the case today. Lucky for us, West Virginia tends to play a lot better at home. I think the crowd will be really good today with it being senior day, and all these games that have kind of been on Saturday and on the weekends, I think have really been beneficial for West Virginia as opposed to the weekday games. So expecting a great crowd and expecting a good performance for West Virginia on the defensive end to try and slow down some of these UCF scores there that we just talked about. As far as the Mountaineers are concerned, some of our leaders, the familiar faces that we've seen throughout the season. Javon Small, of course, leads in scores and assists, over 18 points per game, nearly 6 assists per game. Hansberry leads us in rebounds with over 6 rebounds per game. Buck Harris, nearly 2 steals per game, and Ed Andre over 1 block per game to lead the team as well. Javon, really the only scorer averaging double figures, but Hansberry right on the cusp of it. 10 points per game. If you want to add up and round up there, you could call him a double-digit scorer now, which that's what we need. That's what I talked about in the last preview. We need, Hansberry to hit a couple shots. We need Jonathan Powell to hit a couple shots, and we need Yesfu to come off the bench and score. And I think if you can get those guys scoring alongside Javon Small, is really a good recipe for West Virginia. And we had that against Utah. I think each of those guys that I named hit at least 2 threes, and that's a good recipe for the Mountaineers that they're going to need here. Kind of since Tucker's went out, you've really had some of those guys step up, and they're going to need that to continue. Would love to see, some of those seniors have big games. I know O'Connor's taken a lot of flack for his performances as of late. I would love to see him have, a kind of a bounce-back game. And we've seen him have good games this year. He had, 20-some points, 28 points in one game earlier this season. I think he would have had a lot different season if he was more of, kind of the tertiary option to, Tucker and Javon, to where he would have had more open looks and wouldn't have been asked to, kind of handle and kind of create his own shot like he's had to at times, because that's really not his strong suit. If he would have been more, defense, rebounding, and then every now and then he's wide open because people are keying on Tucker and Javon. Probably would have been different. So, him having to play a different role than he was expected probably led to some of those struggles, but would love to see him have a big senior day, as the same can be said for all of these guys. Joe Yesufu, Javon Small, Ed Andre, who, of course, we got to shout out with his, hard-edge performance on the basketball court in the last game. Would love to see him have a big game, and I hope Jake Auer gets some minutes. I'm sure that he will, and if he gets in there, expect him to knock down a three. He's only shooting 56% from the three-point line this year. That's insane, man. If he wasn't such a liability on the defensive end, that's a guy that you could play 5 to 10 minutes per game, and if he gets in, he's going to knock down a shot. I truly feel like it. So despite the fact of UCF, being a higher scoring team than West Virginia has this season, West Virginia's been a really good team on the defensive end, and I think we've got guys on the outside that can slow down their scorers. You throw Buck Harris on one of them, you put Toby O'Connie, Javon Small on the other, and you're going to have a decent day there at slowing down those scorers for UCF. So I think West Virginia can get it done, and I'm expecting them to get it done today at home, send these seniors out the right way, and get a win. They're favored by 7.5. I think they're going to cover that. I think West Virginia is going to get a double-digit win to end the season. That's my prediction. I think we're going to score it a little bit more than we have recently. I'm going to go 76-66. West Virginia takes down UCF today. That's my prediction here. Coming up later, 5 Eastern for the men, 4 Eastern for the women. Check them both out on ESPN+, and hopefully we get 2 big victories today. But that's pretty much all I had, guys. Just wanted to get a quick preview of the senior day in before the game, and let you guys know that we'll be back at 8 p.m. tonight for the Almost Heaven members stream as well. I'm going to make a post about it on social media here in a little bit, but had to talk about that and had to talk about the huge addition to the commitment list, the first addition there to the 2027 version of that commitment list, with the big addition of Armand Hill, who is going to be a very highly rated recruit in that class. I'm glad to have West Virginia back on it. So let's see here. See if we've got any other, yeah, we do here. Matt Dix, appreciate you as always tuning in and chiming in, man. Good to see you in here. Says this is the most wins WVU has had in 7 years and the most road wins WVU has had in 12 years. That's super impressive, the job Darren DeVries did with that. I think somebody, was it Tony or somebody, put out on social media after the last win that he has more road wins this year than West Virginia had in the past 2 or 3 years combined, which is super impressive with what West Virginia's had to deal with this year. And I think we really have a coach that's going to be having West Virginia basketball playing at a high level for years to come. He's got to make in the tournament already with, a shorthanded roster this year. He's got 3 McDonald's All-Americans coming in for next year. Hopefully Tucker DeVries returning, and who else we go and get in the transfer portal remains to be seen. But definitely going to be really exciting for WVU basketball moving forward for sure. Trey Edwards says 71-53 WVU. Love the optimism. Would love to see a blowout here to end the season. Javon Small 25+. I like that. Eric says his prediction is he'll probably lose 3 or 4 parlays today. I hope not, man. I hope that you get at least 1 or 2 wins in you today, Eric. I believe in you, brother. I believe in you, man. Matt Dick says UCF has 2 guards. All they know is drive to the basket. Won't be any passing, just straight drive. Yep. Would not be surprised to see a lot of free throws. I think you said that next. Yep. 7th most in the country, so look for a lot of fouls. Who would have thought WVU would have a lot of fouls? Yeah, that's no surprise there. We'll probably see UCF shoot 20, 30 free throws tonight then, it sounds like. Unfortunately, that'll be something else that's frustrated. But it can't be any worse than Asar last game. Like I mentioned in the recap of that one, that guy has like a force field around him. If you get inside Asar's force field, he's going to the free throw line. So maybe something similar against UCF tonight. Also said they have a 7'2" freshman center, 7'2", 230. Geez, yeah, he is a little bit skinny. That's a beanpole right there. But he had 37 versus OK State Thursday, talking about Johnson, who we know can light it up. He had 29 against the Mountaineers last year. So stick Buck Harris on him as much as you can, and then run some other defenders at him to just give him different looks as well. I appreciate that, JR. Appreciate you hopping in, man. Better late than never. Hey, go back and rewatch it from the beginning. I think you're going to love to check out that running back that West Virginia just got a commitment from. Chance to be our first 5-star commit in quite some time by the time it's all said and done. And for you guys that came in late, I encourage you guys to go back and check it out. We're talking about a running back that ran for 495 yards in a game as a freshman in high school, has played freshman and sophomore seasons in high school, and has over 3,000 rushing yards already. And the West Virginia was able to get a commitment from him, and he's already one of the top players in the 2027 class, and that rating's only going to go up, I think. So really excited about that one. Hopefully you guys go back and check that out, as we talked a little football at the beginning, then a little West Virginia women's basketball and West Virginia men's. Hopefully good results for both programs today. Got our fingers crossed for that, but I'll be back to chat with you guys again soon. You channel members, I'll see you guys tonight at 8 p.m. Be sure to come hang out with us on the Almost Heaven members hangout here for March. Love hanging out with you guys on those, and always appreciate you guys a ton. So be back for that, for channel members later, and for you guys on the main channel, I'm sure I'll talk to you guys tomorrow or the next day. Seems like every day or every other day, try and get one of these live streams in so I can chat with you guys. Appreciate everybody that tuned in here live. If you're watching a playback, appreciate that as well. Before you head out, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitch, be sure to come over to the YouTube so you can get the access to the pre-recorded videos and podcasts as well. But appreciate you guys as always. I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.